One of the worst things that can happen as a landlord in Kenya is not a broken pipe, not a bad tenant. Is when a tenant who used to pay rent suddenly goes silent. No calls, no replies, just silent. And rent is now overdue. And here is where most landlords make a very expensive mistake, one that can actually get you sued instead of helping you recover your money. You know that moment when you check your bank account and realize the rent is late. It's a feeling many landlords know too well. A few days ago, your tenant was friendly and reliable. Now your calls are being ignored and your messages are left unread. Suddenly, your investment feels like a liability, and every day that passes puts you in a tougher spot. What do you do when a tenant stops paying rent? It's a nightmare scenario, but it doesn't have to be a catastrophe. Kenyan law provides a path to resolve this, but you have to be careful. One emotional decision, one wrong move, and you could find yourself in serious legal trouble. The first 48 hours determines whether you recover your money. The clock starts ticking. But your first move isn't aggression. It's professional communication. Panic is your enemy, and assumptions will be a downfall. Your first step is simple: polite and a formal reminder. A professional WhatsApp message, an email, a formal letter all work perfectly. Just state the facts: the rent amount, the due date, and a polite inquiry. It could be an honest mistake or a temporary issue. Give your tenant the benefit of doubt. Your message can be simple as, "Hi, hope you're well. Just following up on the rent for June of 10,000 shillings, which was due on 10th. Please let me know if there is any issue or when I can expect payment. Thanks." This does two critical things. First, it often solves the problem right away. Life happens, and a gentle nudge might be all it takes. Second, and most importantly, creates a paper trail. You are now documenting reasonable attempts to solve the problem. If you have to take legal action later, this documentation is your lifeline, proving you acted in good faith. If they had an emergency, offering a short written payment plan can be a win-win. Just be sure to get any new agreement in writing. This is the point where things stop being formal. If your gentle nudge is met with silence and the rent remains unpaid, it's time to escalate from a friendly reminder to a formal demand. Your next step is to issue a written demand letter that gives the tenant 7 days to pay the outstanding rent. This letter is a crucial legal document. It clearly states the amount of rent demanded, the date of the rent was originally due, and the date the 7 days notice will elapse. Most importantly, it specifies the consequences of non-payment. This formal demand serves as a serious warning and is necessary for a legal foundation before you can engage an auctioneer. Think of this step as legally recovering your money through enforcement and not computation. But here is where things get tricky. If the 7 days pass with no payment or communication, you must now engage a licensed auctioneer to recover the arrears. You cannot absolutely take a tenant's belonging yourself. That is illegal and it will land you in serious legal trouble. The auctioneer will begin the process by issuing a proclamation, which is a formal notice giving the tenant 14 days to clear the rent arrears, plus the auctioneer's fees. This proclamation includes a list of the tenant's movable items that are equivalent in value to the debt. If the tenant fails to pay within 14 days, the auctioneer has the legal right to access the property, seize the proclaimed goods, and advertise them for sale in the daily newspapers. The tenant is responsible for all the costs incurred during this process, including the auctioneer's fees and the storage costs for the sealed goods. If the auctioneer is unable to access the property, A breaking order must be obtained from the appropriate tribunal. This requires engaging a lawyer to apply to the Business Premises Rent Tribunal for a commercial property or the Rent Restriction Tribunal for a residential property. This is where most landlords completely destroy their case. Not because they're wrong, because they rush. At this stage, while pursuing the debt through auctioneers, it is also time to formally terminate their tenancy. You should issue a notice to vacate or a lease termination notice, according to the terms specified in the lease agreement. For a typical monthly residential tenancy, 30 days notice is standard. If the notice period ends and the tenant has still not moved out, your final resort is a formal eviction through the courts. Trying to force them out by changing locks, cutting off utilities, or using intimidation is illegal, and it will backfire spectacularly. The tenant can sue you, and you could face fines or even criminal charges. You must file an eviction suit at the appropriate venue: the Magistrates Court, the Rent Restrictions Tribunal for controlled tenancies, or the Business Rent Tribunal for commercial properties. You need all your evidence: the tenancy agreement, proof of delivery of all notices, and the rent payment records. If the court rules in your favor, it will issue an eviction order. Only if the tenant defies this direct court order can a court bailiff be brought into legally and physically removed. So, we have covered the initial steps, from the first polite reminder, the formal demand letter, and even using an auctioneer to legally recover your money. But as you just heard, the final and most critical step is the formal eviction. If your tenant is already refusing to pay, don't wait until it escalates. Watch the next video right now, the eviction process in Kenya, step by step, because at that stage, every mistake becomes expensive.